There's a quiet kind of betrayal that stings deeper than an enemy's bullet. The betrayal that comes from within your own. In the story of Black America, this betrayal has a name: the sellout. It's the man who trades his history for a seat at the table that was never built for him. The woman who distances herself from her people to feel accepted in circles that only tolerate her but never truly embraces her. The word sellout lands like a slap, not the kind that bruises the skin, the kind that bruises the soul. In the Black American lexicon, it is one of the most damning accusations you can receive. It means that you've switched sides. It means that somewhere between the struggle and the spotlight, between the march and the mansion, you traded the truth of your people for the comfort of your place. It's a word that doesn't need defining because every Black person in America knows the sound of its sting. To understand what being a Black sellout really means, you have to first understand the emotional landscape of being Black in America, a terrain defined by centuries of systemic erasure and economic exclusion. Since the earliest days of Reconstruction, there have always been Black individuals who, desperate to rise above the weight of oppression, saw assimilation as the only route to power. The problem was never the success itself, but the cost of it, the quiet abandonment of Black solidarity for personal gain. On plantations, enslaved Africans learned early that the one who smiled before the overseer might live longer than the one who spoke truth. After emancipation, that survival instinct didn't vanish. It evolved. To make it in white America, you had to learn the rules of proximity. Speak softer, dress neater, sound educated but not threatening, ambitious but not proud. In the mid-20th century, during the Civil Rights Movement, figures like Malcolm X and James Baldwin spoke sharply about this kind of capitulation. They criticized those who were too eager to appease white America, the ones who, in their eyes, sanitized Blackness to make it more acceptable. Malcolm famously called such people house Negroes, a metaphor drawn from slavery to describe those who found comfort in proximity to the master's house, forgetting the suffering of the field. It was harsh, but it captured a brutal truth. For some, survival meant submission, acquiescence, a life lived in two skins. By the time Booker T. Washington rose to prominence in the late 19th century, preaching industrial education and quiet perseverance, his critics accused him of teaching Black America how to behave, not how to be free. W.E.B. Du Bois, the sharper voice of Black intellect, called Washington's philosophy a gospel of submission. Washington thought he was protecting his people from white fury. Du Bois thought he was preserving white power. Both men were brilliant, and both revealed the painful divide between strategy and soul that still haunts Black success today. In 2020, during the protests after George Floyd's murder, many young Black Americans noticed a painful split within their own culture. Some celebrities spoke boldly, marched, donated, or risked their platforms. Others stayed silent, fearful of losing endorsements or alienating fans. Silence became currency, and those who hoarded it became suspect. Social media erupted with the same centuries-old question: are you with us or with them? That's how easily the sellout conversation comes alive, at the crossroads of opportunity and obligation. When Kanye West smiled in a red MAGA hat and called slavery a choice, the backlash was instant. To many, it wasn't political. It was ancestral. It wasn't about Republican or Democrat. It was about the audacity to dismiss centuries of pain for a seat at a table built on that very suffering. When Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas voted to strike down affirmative action, a program born from the blood and protests of the civil rights era, his name once again flooded Black spaces with that familiar charge. How could a man who had benefited from the movement's victories turn around and vote against its memory? But beneath those reactions lies something rawer: fear. Fear that Black progress in America is always one compromise away from collapse. Fear that success is too easily confused with assimilation. It's too simple to think of a sellout as a villain. The truth is more tragic. America creates them. It manufactures sellouts by rewarding proximity to whiteness and punishing pride in Blackness. It teaches that being palatable opens doors while being unapologetic closes them. Consider the corporate Black professional who has learned to code, switch, soften his tone, hide his cultural cues, and laugh off microaggressions to survive in a white-dominated office. Or the black journalist who pitches serious stories about race and gets told, "We've done enough of those this year." Or the actor who's told her natural hair isn't universal enough for a role. None of these people wake up and decide to betray their race. They adapt because America demands adaptation as the price of advancement. And when the reward comes, the corner office, the TV role, the book deal, the system applauds their restraint while quietly erasing their authenticity. What emerges is a slow erasure, the making of a successful black American who no longer threatens white comfort. And that right there is the quietest betrayal of all. There's no insult in the black American vocabulary that burns quite like sellout. It's not just an accusation, it's a wound, a deep, soul-piercing charge that says you've turned your back on your people for comfort, approval, or profit. The term has haunted every generation of black America, from the field slave who informed on a rebellion, to the politician who smiles through systemic decay, to the celebrity who dances for applause while his community burns. The sellout is not merely a traitor. He is a symbol of what America demands from black success, silence, obedience, and selective amnesia. But not all sellouts look alike. They come in different forms, wearing different masks, some dangerous, some subtle, some even unaware of their role in the larger game. In this video, we are exposing to you the 7 levels of black sellouts. Level 1, the gang leader. At the first and most destructive level of the 7 levels of black sellouts, we find the gang leader, an individual who not only betrays their own community, but actively embodies its destruction. The gang leader isn't just a problem for the streets. They're a drain on black lives, hopes and futures operating with unchecked power. They exploit poverty, absence of opportunity, and trauma in black neighborhoods to build criminal empires. These leaders often represent the worst combination of internalized oppression and external influence. They benefit financially and socially while undermining the very community that raised them. In many black communities plagued by systemic poverty, underfunded schools, and broken institutions, young black men often grow up searching for belonging, identity, and power. The gang leader often rises as a figure of influence within this chaos, not just as a product of the system, but tragically, as a willing participant in its destruction. On the surface, the gang leader appears to be resisting authority, a rebel against the system. But look closer, and you'll see he has simply inherited the tools of oppression and turned them against his own people. The same violence once inflicted upon black bodies by slave masters and overseers now echoes in street wars, turf battles, and senseless killings. It's self-destruction disguised as power. The gang leader represents the lowest rung of sellouts who exploit black communities by perpetuating violence, crime, and destruction from within. Instead of uplifting their neighborhoods, they contribute to the cycle of poverty and incarceration. Gang leaders often glorify destructive behavior, hinder youth development, and indirectly support the system that disproportionately imprisons black youth. While many gang members may be victims of circumstance, some rise to leadership positions and prioritize power over community progress, thus becoming part of the problem rather than the solution. Take Stanley Tookie Williams, for example, co-founder of the Crips in Los Angeles. He was an American gangster who co-founded and led the Crips gang in Los Angeles. He and Raymond Washington formed an alliance in 1971 that established the Crips as Los Angeles' first major African-American street gang. During the 1970s, Williams was the de facto leader of the Crips and the prominent crime boss in South Los Angeles. Williams' activities with the Crips ended in 1979 when he was arrested for the murder of 4 people during 2 robberies. Convicted of the murders in 1981 and sentenced to death, he spent over 2 decades on death row until he was executed by lethal injection in 2005. Williams eventually recognized the damage his actions had caused and tried to turn his life around, writing books to steer youth away from gang life. But by then, the Crips had already become a violent legacy, spreading destruction in black neighborhoods nationwide. The Black Disciples Gang of Chicago serves as a striking example of how organized crime has deeply harmed the African American community. What began as small neighborhood crews has evolved into a vast and structured criminal enterprise. Its leadership has been linked to orchestrating drug trafficking, violent turf wars, and the exploitation of the very communities they came from, communities that needed leadership, not destruction. Similarly, the Mickey Cobras, also based in Chicago, highlight another entrenched case originally rooted in the struggles of poverty. This gang developed into a disciplined criminal organization led by individuals whose cycle of violence, fear, and systemic instability in Black communities. The gang leader is often glamorized in the media as a hustler, a boss, or a survivor. But in reality, he may be one of the most effective tools of white supremacy, helping to destabilize Black communities from within, fueling the prison system, and killing future leaders before they ever reach the podium. He may not wear a suit, but he enforces the same agenda that seeks to keep Black progress stagnant. The real tragedy is not just in his choices, but in how the system shaped those choices and how many others follow behind him, believing the lie that domination over their own people is a form of success. Level 2 corporate climber. The corporate climber is the individual who achieves success by assimilating into predominantly white corporate environments, often at the expense of their community and values. They adopt a culture, language, and sometimes attitudes of their employers, distancing themselves from Black issues to advance their careers. These individuals may avoid advocating for racial equity in the workplace to maintain favor. This level of sellout is often well-polished, well-spoken, and respected in elite circles, but at a cost. They often adopt ideologies that mirror dominant systems. Most times, these systems are usually white and may actively suppress or ignore systemic racism in order to remain non-threatening or palatable in corporate spaces, rather than using their platform to uplift or create space for others from their community. They may reinforce stereotypes, oppose diversity efforts, or dismiss issues like police brutality and economic inequality as excuses. A typical example of such persons is Clarence Thomas, a U.S. Supreme Court justice who, despite benefiting from affirmative action, has spent much of his career opposing it. His rulings have often been seen as setbacks for civil rights progress, aligning him more with conservative values that many feel directly harmed, Black communities. Another instance of corporate climbers are politicians who campaign on Black issues, but vote for legislation that increases mass incarceration or underfunded education in Black neighborhoods. The tragedy of the corporate climber is not in their success, but in their refusal to challenge the system they've mastered. Instead of pulling others up, they often close the door behind them. Level 3, the culture trader. The culture trader is perhaps one of the most dangerous forms of Black sellouts, not because they're always obvious, but because they blend in, masquerading as champions of Black excellence while quietly selling off the soul of the culture for personal gain. This level of sellout thrives in entertainment, fashion, media, and even academia. They commodify Black identity, our music, our slang, our style, our pain, and repackage it for mainstream audiences, often watering it down to fit white palates. They ride the wave of Black creativity, but abandon the roots from which it came. Take, for example, some hip-hop artists who glorify the destruction of Black communities through lyrics filled with violence, misogyny, and drug culture. This is usually done not because it's their truth, but because it sells record labels and media corporations run by non-Black executives. Push these messages while silencing conscious, revolutionary voices, and the culture trader willingly plays along. The culture traders also present in Hollywood. Their actors, producers, and influencers use Blackness as a brand, but go silent when injustice hits. They may post a Black square for optics, but where are they? When it's time to speak out against voter suppression, police brutality, or economic injustice, we still are. Those who twist historical narratives for entertainment while ignoring the truth. They profit off the aesthetic and struggle of Blackness without honoring the weight of its history. They perform, posture, and promote, but rarely protect the culture. Trader isn't just an opportunist. They're a gatekeeper for whitewashed versions of our stories. And the more they sell us for clout, the more disconnected future generations become from their roots. True cultural preservation requires accountability, not popularity, and the culture traitor. Despite wearing the costume of community, often trades liberation for likes, truth for trends, and justice for checks. Level 4, the respectability preacher. This level of black sellout is often characterized by individuals who believe the path to acceptance, success, or safety for black people lies in acting right or conforming to white societal norms. The respectability preacher promotes the idea that dressing a certain way, speaking proper English, and obeying authority, no matter how unjust, is the solution to systemic racism. While personal responsibility is important, these figures dangerously shift the blame for oppression onto the oppressed. Instead of challenging racist systems, they critique the culture, behavior, or appearance of fellow black people, suggesting that racism is a reaction to blackness rather than a long-standing system of power and control. Bill Cosby's infamous pound cake speech is a classic case. In it, he chastised black communities for their parenting, naming conventions, and fashion choices, arguing that these were the root causes of inequality rather than systemic issues like poverty, underfunded schools, or mass incarceration. This narrative undermines collective struggle by shaming those who are already marginalized. The respectability preacher may be praised by the dominant society for being reasonable or well-spoken, but often at the expense of solidarity with the very community they claim to represent. Level 5, the media mouthpiece. The media mouthpiece is the public figure, often a journalist, commentator, influencer, or TV personality who uses their platform to echo narratives that reinforce stereotypes about black communities or defend systems of oppression. While appearing as a voice of reason or representative of black thought, they often serve as mouthpieces for institutions that marginalize their own people. They may downplay police brutality, justify racial profiling, criticize movements like Black Lives Matter, or repeatedly tell black audiences to stop playing the victim. Their message is often packaged in respectability or framed as tough love, but at its core, it promotes compliance and silence in the face of injustice. Figures like Candace Owens have built entire careers by downplaying systemic racism and instead blaming black people for their own oppression. She has dismissed police brutality, undermined civil rights protests, and aligned herself with political agendas that openly oppose black advancement, all while claiming to tell the truth to the black community as a provocateur. She stands alone. The recently fired Daily Wire host built a reputation as one of the few black voices in right-wing media by tossing black culture and black people under the conservative bus. She embraced Donald Trump's lawlessness while castigating Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and black victims of police brutality as thugs and criminals. For Owens, the January 6th insurrection was virtually nothing, while the Black Lives Matter movement is about black anarchy. She even told a congressional subcommittee that white supremacy and white nationalism is not a problem that is harming black America. Aside from her executives who rise through corporate ranks but refuse to acknowledge systemic racism or promote diversity, initiatives beyond performative gestures are also great case scenarios of the media mouthpiece. The danger of the media mouthpiece is their ability to give oppressive systems the illusion of legitimacy. Because they're black, their words are often used by white audiences as proof that racism isn't real or isn't as bad as claimed. They provide cover for harmful policies and make it harder for genuine voices to be heard. Level 6, the celebrity puppet. Quickly picture this: the lights, the camera, the adoring crowds, someone on stage dominating culture and commanding attention. They rattle off the hot lines where the designer drips and headline massive crowds to the world. They're icons to their community. They were supposed to be champions, but somewhere along the way, the mic got turned, the camera angle shifted, and the cheers became quiet. This is the celebrity puppet, the star whose influence could shake systems, spotlight injustices, or uplift communities. But instead, he gets used as a shiny prop in a system that prefers comfort over confrontation. They bring the entertainment, the endorsement deals, the viral moments, but not the revolutionary change. The moment when Monique called out Steve Harvey as a sellout for taking the quick path in Hollywood while turning away from black issues. Or reflect on how stars like Kanye West, who once embodied rebellion, ended up aligning with power they once decried, shifting their lightning to others and leaving Black struggle in the shadow of fame. Because here's the sting. When the environment, neighborhood, and youth suffer, the celebrity puppet keeps the stage and walks away. They build brands while the brand of their people burns. They change verses, but not systems. Their platform may be massive, but the truth they carry is muted. The tragedy isn't just that they disappear from the struggle, it's that their absence becomes the silent secrets that hide behind. They don't just sell out, they make sure the spotlight never has to land on Black pain, Black protest, or Black power. The celebrity puppet is a public figure who gains fame and wealth, but aligns with the interests of powerful white entities rather than advocating for genuine Black empowerment. They often speak in ways that downplay systemic issues or accept narratives that maintain the status quo to protect their brand or income. Their influence is used to distract or pacify the masses rather than push for real change. Celebrities who publicly support controversial politicians or movements that don't benefit Black communities, or who avoid speaking out on issues like police brutality, are perfect examples of celebrity puppets. Level 7, the political opportunist. As the year drew to a close in December 2016, Omarosa Manigault Newman rose to national prominence as an aide to Donald Trump, positioning herself within the halls of power while many in the Black community viewed her alignment as a betrayal. As one article noted, for years, Omarosa stood at Trump's side, making her deeply unpopular with African Americans who see her as a sellout for aligning herself with a president who has hurled one insult after another at Black people. Her falling out with Mr. Trump and her decision to call him a racist as she sells her new book, and in turn, his calling her a dog, have not been enough for many African Americans to invite her back to the family picnic. Too little, too late. Many said,
"Her tell-all mea culpa won't win her any brownie points with most Blacks," said Earl Afari Hutchinson, author of the book Why Black Lives Do Matter. Their loathing of Omarosa is virtually frozen in stone. She's still roundly lambasted as a two-bit opportunist, a racial sellout, and an ego-driven hustler.
This particular behavior is the role of the political opportunist. They cast themselves as champions for the people, but too often, their loyalties lie elsewhere. They use their Black heritage to gain trust from their community while advancing agendas that serve the dominant power structure. They speak of progress and empowerment during campaigns or promotional stages, but once they get into the office, their actions align with policies that benefit corporations, oppress marginalized people, or preserve systemic inequality. Oftentimes, they operate with the mindset that power is personal and not communal. They believe that advancing personally is more important than uplifting the collective. When a political opportunist gains access to official channels like legislation, funding, or decision-making, it creates an illusion of representation. Yet this representation often masks systemic abandonment. By maintaining the appearance of solidarity while blocking real change, they stall progress, disarm resistance, and prolong the cycle of exploitation. In this level of sellout, the betrayal isn't always loud, it's bureaucratic. It's a vote, a quiet concession, a rewrite of community interest into personal advancement. In effect, it becomes a partner in oppression, not its challenger. From gang leaders destroying their own communities to political opportunists and media mouthpieces who echo narratives designed to keep us divided, each of these roles plays a part in the systemic undermining of Black unity, progress, and liberation. But let this not just be a call out. Let it be a wake-up call. The path forward isn't in imitation or betrayal, it's in restoration, education, and elevation. We must recognize these patterns, confront them, and choose a different path, one rooted in truth, accountability, and collective empowerment. Thanks for staying with us till the end of this video. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe as we continue to have these difficult but necessary conversations. And most importantly, let's do better for ourselves and the generations to come.